I'm the Commissar. We're watching Forged Alliance Forever, and you're about to see a wide range of skill ratings on display. Will the top tier 2000 plus pros carry the day, or will the low rated barely 1000 level Joes drag them down? Let's find out. So here we are in a custom game. Despite the generally hot colours in the south, there are also hot colours in the north, so we don't have the luxury of team colours. We just have a north team and a south team. Let's meet the south team first. In their air position, we have Babel, who is 1300 rated and UEF in Mucus Brown. In the first flank position, we have SPCR, 1300 rated and Cybran in red. Moving along, this fellow is going to be doing what he wants. Do what you want, cause a pirate is free, and he is the pirate. However, all yaha fiddle-dee-dees aside, he is 1300 rated and Eon in Fecal Brown. Moving along, this is Brittle. He's 1400 rated and UEF. He is in Lime Green. And last but not least, for the southern team, this fellow is Gaston98. He's 1300 rated and he's Cybran in Burgundy. In the north team's air position, we have Bamba and Tequila, and they have opened first air, and I think that's going to be a mistake. They've opened first air on a map with no hydro, so I think they're going to have quite severe power problems. And they've got NG's working on mexes out here. NG's desperately working on power, but look, they can't afford to build with the commander, and the commander is just standing around doing nothing. Not a great opening there. Up here, this is Freedom-Cobra, 1100 rated and UEF in dark blue. And now we have the game's highest rated player, Hybrid. They are 2000 rated, that's 600 higher than the next highest rated player on the other team, and Seraphim and Cyan. Moving along and already moving forward here with their base in the background, this is StrixInquisitor. They are 1200 rated and UEF in orange. And last but not least for our introductions, this is xxxxx. Maybe he was once called Twitter, but I'm going to call him X. He's 1500 rated and UEF in yellow. Quick look at the map. Decent amounts of mass poop, as it's nowadays called, scattered around, that's the technical term. We've got a few clutches here, it's mainly rocks and red trees, but nothing huge to fight over. That's probably the biggest clutch there. We have some early lab play out from the pirate. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 labs at least, and more coming out. He's going to try and deny some of these expansion mexes for hybrid. So the ratings, yeah, all the ratings for this team are clustered around 13 or 1400, but here we have a range from 1000 to 2000. Game thinks it's reasonably balanced at 93%, but often games like this come down to whether you can take out the high rated player early or not. We'll see whether this game is one such game. In comes the lab spam, but it looks like we've got decently placed tanks from Hybrid, and I don't know if the labs are going to get much done. He's got scouts, he can see where they're going. I reckon he's going to catch most of them. We've got more of a advanced in this direction from SPCR, whereas down here, X is heading off this way. Gaston advancing to his natural expansion. Freedom's already there. So, unsurprisingly, quite symmetric play so far. That said, Pirate is still in his base, whereas Strix has come forward a bit. And both Brittle and Hybrid are moving similarly. Some scouting out, they're going to see what's going on. Not a very fast start to this game, no early bombers getting huge amounts of damage, which I'm often so keen to see. But we're going to imagine that it gets better. I hope you are, because that will mean that you stick around and watch and see what does happen later on. I am told we're going to get some very exciting stuff later in this game. Let's find out. So, SPCR pushing in on Freedom with the Citadel Army here. I think you could get... He's heading here, but I think he could get more damage done if he went for a run-by and went in here and killed these NGs and got into Freedom's base, because Freedom's comm is up here, and Freedom isn't really producing many defensive units yet. He's upgrading here to Tech 2, and this factory is only producing engineers, but unfortunately for SPCR, he just meets the comm and is driven away. This is a rather larger run-by being attempted now by Pirate. He's still got mainly labs, but he's mixed in a couple of tanks. However, the labs are faster than the tanks, and so he might be able to evade Hybrid's tanks. Bamba bringing his comm forward to help, but labs are definitely faster than comms. This mechs and radar might be a nice pickup, and it looks like that Pirate has noticed it. It's only a mix, but I think the intel denial, if they can get it, and they do, will be big. And they're running on for Freedom's base rather than waiting around to be shot by Hybrid's tanks. But Freedom has finished his T2 upgrade, he has a pillar out, and so this raid is going to be stopped pretty easily, I reckon. SPCR also, with his retreating force, is getting some mechs pickups here, which could be nice. Meanwhile, Pirate and Hybrid are facing off in the middle, some delicious reclaim there for them to pick up if they notice. And we're beginning to get a lot of upgrades going down. Sensors for the Pirate, that's going to be nice. I find sensors are most useful against Cyberans, because Cyberan stealth comms, that bonus is effectively negated by sensors, but it does mean that you don't get the rate of fire, so sensors and double range upgrade are quite common if you're seeing sensors at all, and I approve of that. I often don't do that, and maybe I should do it a little bit more. And that looks like it's exactly what Pirate is going for. Down here, we have gun, and T2. Attempted push by SPCR here, but it's quickly cleaned up by Freedom's T2. Bamba has cheekily stolen this mix off Hybrid and is now standing around on the edge of the cliff. He's not going to get much done there. He might want to move up here and help Hybrid fight Gaston. Looks like X is planning to set up a firebase here. Not really a great deal to defend here, but I guess it's enough that a choke point here doesn't defend all these mexes. However, we're now seeing a lot of comms moving in. Here on the left, Pirate is pushing Hybrid. Here on the right, SPCR is pushing Freedom. Freedom's bringing in his Tech 2. But I don't know if Freedom's got enough, because both comms are naked. However, Pirate is having a bit more of a problem, because Hybrid has got T2 point defenses up here. His comm's still naked, but 3 T2 point defenses is going to be enough to drive the Pirate back. But look at this, Freedom is not even trying to hold with this T2. He accepts that SPCR has enough to drive him off this expansion. That's a loss of 4 mexes, that's quite big. So Pirate being driven back, but down here we've got Gaston pushing X. And this is quite a big fight. We've got T2 point defense being constructed, but Gaston has gun, and in the usual case, gun beats T2. And as if that weren't enough, we've also got Brittle pushing Strix. X is going to be driven back. I don't think he's got enough to hold. In fact, X might be about to be destroyed, because he's been surrounded. He's got a gun comm pushing in on him. He's actually got both gun and T2, which is going to carve through a lot of this. And Strix is actually looking a little bit in danger here, but not as in danger as X. I think X is going to be our first ejection. Are you ready for it, guys? Are you ready? Is he? Oh, come on. 2400 hit points. Surely he dies. All Gaston has to do is keep him in range, and taking out the 1500 rated player here would be a big win for them. I say a big win. Hybrid, who's 2000 rated, will inherit, but even so, and look at this, Strix has indeed been pushed back by the forces of Brittle. How much will Brittle be able to capitalize on this? And when we look at an overview, look at the territorial gains here for the southern team. Every single contested bit of the middle, they've won. This is quite bold here from Bamba. They're trying to put up a land factory here to defend this one mech they've claimed, but their comm is still naked. And this is quite a lot of force, albeit mostly T1, though we do now have a bit of T2 production here from SPCR. Meanwhile, Brittle is going to capitalize on his gains from Strix. Strix, having taken a lot of damage, has stopped, going for nano first to get the repair and then gun. But while he's fixed in position, Brittle, with his gun, is picking off these units, and we have a nice run-by that's just walked past Strix's units while his comm can't move to block them, and I think we're going to see some damage here. I think we're going to see an amount of T2 mixes being lost by Strix in this position. Could be 3, that could be pretty bad. We've got a quick T1 plasma cannon going up in point defense, and there's not much arty in here, but look at the damage. 3 T2 mexes, that is pretty brutal. Meanwhile, Bamba is definitely being courageous with around this force, but we have now got T2 from Freedom to support. And there's just going to be more damage as Brittle's force runs on, and now Brittle is into Hybrid's backline, and this could hurt Hybrid quite a bit. Obviously, a lot of North Team's hopes are riding on Hybrid as their highest rated player by a long way, so the more damage that South Team can do to him, the better. However, Strix now has gun and nano and is pushing back in. Brittle realizes this and he's retreating, so I'm going to keep watching this push and see just how much more it gets done. But that's a nice little point defense going up from Hybrid, and none of these are focusing it, or the engineers, so I think that's just going to pick all of these off before Hybrid loses any actual mexes. Great defense from Hybrid, 1 T2 point, T1 even, 1 T1 point defense, definitely paying for itself. SPCR is pushing in on Freedom again, and this time we have a smattering of T2 on both sides, but I think there's more for Freedom. Both sides have gun and nothing else, but SPCR has quite a big force coming in from Pirate to help him out, and a lot of his own T2 here. There's a smattering of T2 in defense from Freedom, but the Pirate's force combined with SPCR's T2 should be enough to handle that. That's my bet, as it were. And we can see on the minimap that Strix is continuing to force back Brittle, but I think this is where we have to look. Is Freedom actually at risk of death here? This is a big army coming in on him, and look how SPCR is falling back, luring him forward, so that the Pirate can bring in a nice side swipe. That is nice, I like it. But SPCR wants to let him live. Let Cobra pull back, he's bad anyway. He is indeed 1100 rated, and while I wouldn't call that bad, he's higher rated than I am, I would say that giving Cobra's base to Hybrid is not necessarily the best move at this stage. However, SPCR is wiping out a lot of Freedom's forces, meaning that Freedom can't push in, which is pretty nice. But now we have to look at what Hybrid is doing. He's pushing here, but it's these run-bys I think we're going to need to pay the most attention to. We have a force coming into Gaston's base. He's got his comm to defend, but these units can just move by here and pick up a bunch of mexes. And we've got a force coming into the Pirate space, and the Pirate, he's reclaimed a lot of his T1 factories. He's putting up T1 point defense in desperation, But what does he have really to stop this? He's only got one factory, and if he loses this power, that is going to hurt. And he will absolutely lose that power. Meanwhile, over here, we do have a couple of Mongies in defense, and of course we have Gaston's comm. But Gaston is losing T2 mexes. He's lost one. He might lose another. This force, however, is just staying still. As Hybrid, however, has managed to push forward here and force the pirate back. And the pirate just resigns, having lost his entire base. I can understand that. Meanwhile, this attack is cleared up, but it has taken out 2 of Gaston's mexes. Great attack from Hybrid. Meanwhile, Hybrid's army, again, pushing Gaston's front base, and I don't know if Gaston has enough to survive that here. I think this army is just going to walk over his base and carry on going. And indeed, it is going to. There are a couple of T2 units in there, but they're not going to be able to stop this entire force. Meanwhile, we have this little push coming in also from Hybrid. Look at the APM on this man. Anyway, he's got Ilshis coming in towards Babel. Babel has a naked comm to defend, but he's also got a broadsword. I think the broadsword will be enough to stop them, and he's got ASF support. How's the air doing for Bamba? Well, Bamba has T3 air, and he's producing strats, but no ASF, and he hasn't got T3 power. And that is going to show he's got insane amounts of power storage. Oh, you can see he's capped the hydro. That's a bit of a... I think he's fully capped the hydro. That's a bit of a noob move. 1 T1 bomb, and all of that goes up. But he has got 2 strats out. And the strats are going for SPCR, who's into the red. SPCR gets a vet, and the strats are destroyed, but both bombs are off before the strats are destroyed, and SPCR goes up. That was close. Good attempt to defend by air from Babel, who does have ASFs, but it just was a fraction too late. A second earlier, that strat wouldn't have dropped the bomb, he'd have been fine. But meanwhile, that army from Hybrid has advanced on Gaston, and Gaston might be in trouble, but he's reclaiming his old T2 factories, he's got T3 production, and he has bricks. That could be crucial. He's also putting up T2 point defense. So this is going to be close. That's a big army, but this is a Guncom with bricks. The bricks are the crucial element here. And the army has stopped moving. However, I think we're going to have to watch 2 things at once here. Because while Gaston defends, Brittle is pushing Strix with Titans, and Strix's shields are out of position. And he has got gun, he has got nano, but this is quite a big force. Is Strix actually going to escape? His shield's coming over him, and he keeps on shooting the Titans. But there's a lot of Titan firepower coming down on him. His nano is doing his best, but Strix is in trouble. Boom! Meanwhile, over here, Gaston has lost some production, it's true, but his bricks have finally cleared up the raid. Wow. Meanwhile, in comes Hybrid down here. He's decided not to push on Gaston's main base and instead going for the flank here of Brittle's forces. And we have got broadswords in support from Babel, but there's enough flak here in Hybrid's force to see them off. So map control has definitely reversed from the early point where we noticed it was all here. Babel has inherited from SPCR this area, but Hybrid now has almost all of these 3 middle sections that might be contested. And he's sending in... How much reclaim is there on those sections? Quite a lot, as you can see. Thousands there, thousands there. And we are getting good reclaim work from both sides, here and here. Now Brittle is pushing in on Strix's old base with another wave of Titans like unto that which killed him. And Strix's base does now have a T3 HQ, but it's still only at the stage of producing UEF engineers. And he doesn't have any T3 production here, and Titans are of course a great counter to anything that isn't T3, apart from maybe Oshis, of which there are a couple. But overall, this Titan push should get some significant damage done. It's not going in for these T2 point defenses, it's just going for places it can hit, and if it can get into these mixes, for example, that would be amazing for Brittle. We do have a desultory skirmish up here between Freedom and Babel. Babel now has bricks coming in from SPCR space, which will definitely see off all of this. We do have a Percy here from Freedom, but he hasn't really scaled his T3 production yet. 2 factories heavily assisted, but they're not there yet on the front line. How are those Titans doing? Well, they are getting into this space. We have got a lot of point defense going up, and if I were Brittle, does he know? I mean, he knows there are these essentially undefended. It is those that I would have gone for. However, he's taken out a Mex, which was T2 by the looks of things. Just the one, but he does go on into the back over here. The scuffle up here continues between Freedom and Babel, and the Percys are moving in, and there are beginning to be a few more of them. If Babel brings this in, he probably has enough to push and take the scrap, but I don't know for sure. It's not clear to me right away who's going to win. Good positioning from Babel though. These Percys aren't really getting the hits off he needs yet. Now they're fully engaged, and the T2 point defences will have helped, but they're being overwhelmed. A ping goes down to remind Babel that he has forgotten about this force. But the Percys are retreating, and if they don't get the damage done right now, this force will catch up. We also have a brick push from Gaston, and this is all T2, so those bricks are going to get work done. The forces have separated again here, and it is now Freedom who thinks he has the chance to push, but with this army sweeping up from the bottom, I don't think that's going to get much work done. Map control now feeling very even again, but the eco advantage is definitely in the hands of North Team, who have a lead of 250, that's nearly but not quite double, over their opponents. And this is now a lot of bricks. There are more Percys coming out here, but they're coming out fast enough. And that is why, because look at that mass store, that's like nearly 51% efficiency, there you go. Freedom falls back, and I think he has to. Meanwhile, the force of bricks from Gaston is coming forward, but now we have a much larger army from Hybrid coming forward. It has Percys, it has shields, but Gaston has a monkey, which he's just finished right there. I don't think Gaston... Does Gaston actually know how much... He doesn't. He does not see this. Are there deceivers in there? I don't think so. This is mainly UEF, so it's just a lack of intel. Gaston does not know quite how much is about to come and stomp him. But this monkey will certainly help in defense. Against this many Percys, though, will it be enough? Meanwhile, Babel is pushing on Freedom's choke point. Freedom's got a line of Percys, and there are now whalers out from Bamba. But I do suspect that there are enough ASFs here. Look, this is nice from Babel. He's just taking the airfight, winning it, and then he can clear up the whalers at his leisure. And that's a lot of whalers for Bamba to lose essentially for free. And Babel still has the larger ground army here, as Freedom has had to split his forces into these two positions. Really, Freedom needs to be able to force an engagement either here or here, and not allow Babel to just pick him off it's take a long time for the Percys to get down here, and threaten a counterattack. How's that monkey doing from Gaston? Well, it's not choosing to engage, and if he's been able to see that with scouts, which I think he has, I can understand why. Is he working on another monkey? Not yet. He doesn't really have the eco to work on any experimentals, but he's done it anyway. Meanwhile, Hybrid is trying to sneak a little push in here. Does Brittle have enough to defend? He's got some Percys. In fact, he's got quite a lot of Percys, and that might be enough to stop this force. Especially if he gets good engagements. How's Hybrid's intel? Well, he does see those. But I think that Brittle has actually got enough to defend here, and Hybrid thinks so too. He is falling back. And Brittle completes a mobile factory, I imagine. Babel says making round of strats will ascend, so he's going for a strat snipe somewhere. Where's Babel's fatty? Babel's fatty? Britta's fatty. There it is. Some posturing here from Freedom and Babel. Both of these armies are quite significant in size now. I think Freedom should get his comm back. He's only got gun, and at this stage, when there's this much T3 on the field, having your comm on the front lines is a mistake. If this force advances here, though, this could be a nice little run-by. Sneaking in from Brittle, but it's not. It just stops, and I think it might just be crushed by Freedom right here. Yeah, this is more than enough army to take out this little force. Got a GC planned, but first we've got some mexes being focused up by Brittle. Here on the left, it looks like Hybrid feels he has enough to push in, even against the monkey, though there's a decent amount of loyalists and bricks in there. Over here, Babel is pushing in, and Freedom comes sweeping round to defend. The monkey opens fire. And Hybrid realises that there's enough T3 support here that he can't push down the monkey. On this side, Freedom is going for this forward position with the mexes, although they are only T1 at the moment. But Babel has this army coming in here, this army coming in here. He's going to sandwich Freedom, and this is going to hurt. Hybrid is trying to send tanks to help, but they're going to be too late. Up here, the monkey pushes forward, and Hybrid is in full retreat. Lots of reclaim here. Gaston really needs to get in and suck some of that up. This army is pung, and it could actually come down here and do some damage while Babel is occupied up here. But look how much Freedom is losing as we have Gaston pushing forward. Babel has inflicted a lot of casualties there, and Hybrid is coming up to try and help out with the defense as Freedom brings in his comm. The monkey pursuit continues, but I think that Hybrid is just going to run away here, and the teams are consolidating their positions once more. However, I say that, is Babel actually falling back? Or I think he might be preparing for an advance, because this is not enough, even with Hybrid assistance, to do the business and take it all out. And yeah, Babel is pushing. And Hybrid is microing elsewhere, so this is the worst possible position. A sideways line for this entire army to sweep over and pick off a bit at a time. And Hybrid has so much to manage that it's understandable, but even so, that is a loss he could very easily have avoided had he had a chance. SPCR complaining from beyond the grave that Hybrid has a big eco advantage, and he does. Look at the team differences now, that's huge. But also, look at Freedom Freedom is down to 2,000 hit points. If this army chases, it could kill him. But I don't think it's going to chase, because I think that they actually want him to survive, so he keeps on taking up eco that isn't going into Hybrid's hands, that Hybrid can then use his massive eco to upgrade even further. They're advancing quite cautiously. No, they've just got an attack move going in there, so if they're fast enough, then they will just kill Freedom. But I don't think that's what's going to happen here. Oh, maybe it is. You remember earlier Babel was talking about a strat snipe? Well, here it comes, and I think that might just be going to hit Freedom and kill him. Because on the one hand, sure, it's more eco for... Boom, indeed it does kill him. It's more eco for Hybrid, but it's also more actions for Hybrid to have to manage all at once. Meanwhile, that fatty we saw coming forward from Brittle has joined the monkey of Gaston, and this entire force is going to be pushed back. However, it swings in roundabouts, as over here we have a fatty from Hybrid, which is charging in with a lot of shields and a decent supporting force on Brittle, and though Brittle has a lot of Percies, I don't know if it's enough to stop all of this. Up here, Babel is going to smash into Freedom's old base, and he's going to deny a lot of the eco, but there is a chicken coming in. However, this might be enough to just push the chicken back. That's a lot of T3, a lot. And it doesn't matter if Hybrid inherits the eco, if there isn't an eco to inherit. Look at the damage he's doing. And forward he swarms, spreading out so the chicken's blast radius damage doesn't do it. We have got an XP out from Bamba, which will join the force, and... Okay, Bamba is the air player. He has 3 air factories and he's building monkeys. My trainer would be shredding me for that. Over here, the fatty has been given to Gaston, and there are now 2 monkeys. Is the chicken gonna make it? Yes, it is, because we now have another chicken coming in. This force is going to be wiped out from Babel, but look at the damage it has done. What used to be X's base is now coming under attack, but there's that fatty. No, there's another fatty from Hybrid, because there's still the one down here. In fact, we better watch both, I think. On the right, Brittle is using a GC in defense, which is chasing after the fatty. It's actually got surprisingly close, but that was a mistake. It turned away. It's faster than the fatty. Over here, this is a mistake from Hybrid. He's let the fatty get in range of the monkey laser, and boom, the fatty goes down. Over here, the GC is chasing, and the fatty is shooting it. GC is deep into the red. I don't know if it's going to survive. But the fatty stopped. That's a mistake. The GC has only 5,000 hit points left, but it's opening fire, and I don't think the fatty's focusing it. 3,000 hit points, 2,000. Look at this base being torn apart, and we've got that fatty fire coming in from down there as well. But the fatty... Are you kidding me? It's gonna do it with 1,000 hit points left. The GC kills the fatty and gets a rank of veterancy. That is amazing. And unsurprisingly, Brittle is falling back with that damaged GC. He's defended, he saved the fatty, and it's over here that we need to keep our focus. Here on the left flank, we are going to get some fatty on fatty action as Hybrid brings in another fat boy to defend against this attack. However, 2 monkeys and an opposing fat boy are a big ask for one fatty to stop, and these Percies have been torn apart. That said, this monkey is pretty badly damaged. Quick check in the middle though, where I see an air fight going down. And Babel has by far the better micro and more ASF, and he wins easily. And you know what I was saying? Because look, we've still got monkeys being churned out here using Bamba's eco, and he's still only got 3 air factories. That would be why, and that means that this strat can go to town on the fatties of... These strats, plural, can go to town on the fatties of Hybrid, and though Hybrid had 2 coming in against only 1, it does mean that I think Gaston is going to do the job, because with the strats to take out the shields, This monkey is absorbing some fatty fire. Hybrid is forced to fall back, and there is flak, and now some more ASFs do come in from Bamba. But Hybrid has lost a lot of experimental force here, and that could hurt him. We also have 2 chickens from Hybrid making progress towards the base of Brittle. And Brittle is sending... He's got a GC here, and he's got a GC here, which might be able to defend. This GC was already deep into the red though. However, he's got a few T3 units in to help. One chicken goes down, but his Iron Storm will do a lot of damage. This chicken vets, but is immediately taken down into the red by the GC. The Persians are still firing, and Brittle defends, though with only 1 GC remaining deep into the red. What a close shave. On the left, this monkey from Gaston is raiding back here, but there are a couple of whalers with ASF support and defense, and it's luring this fatty away, but that means that this fatty is coming in unimpeded. On this side we have 2 monkeys from Bamba pushing forward, and they are holding back this force of Babels for now, but that's a lot of T3. Now, Ravagers are all well and good for defending against monkeys, but a fatty outranges Ravagers, and it's going to be these artillery which he's going to have to focus on if he wants to keep safe. The monkey is under both fatty and broadsword fire. And over here it looks like Bamba has been scared away, and indeed strats come in from Babel. Are they going to take out the monkeys? Air defense from Bamba. But there's still quite a lot of strats. The strats go down, and the monkey just about survives. Meanwhile, the bombardment is being kept up. Hybrid has now got 2 fatties online, and this may be a signal for Gaston to withdraw. His fatty shields go down. He brings in more mobile shields to support it, but over here we do have a monkey lost for Bamba. Nice tactical missile bank there. But those fatties are now able to push back, and I think they might be able to do the damage. It's taking the hits. Boom, Gaston's fatty goes down. Now, while we were looking at the airfight, we saw Babel take an airfight and win. Look at that. We have 11 ASFs for Bamba compared to 49 active for Sophia Fuel for Babel. And though Bamba is trying to rebuild this bunch of mexes, I don't know how long they're going to last. There are hives here, but I think that they're mainly assisting the Mega and not the Air Factory production. And also, look at that, Bamba is nearly overflowing mass. He does not have the power. Just make air, dude, says somebody. I think X. And he's not wrong. They need the air more than they need these monkeys. And indeed, up go those T3 mexes, and immediately in comes a bank of tactical missiles and kills them. This is a complete waste. He's putting up TMD now, but he's lost so much. And meanwhile, Brittle has just started work on a nuke. Do I see any nuke defense over here? What about over here? I'm not seeing any. I think that some damage could be done with that nuke. Chicken coming forward, but here are the bricks pushing on the trio of monkeys, and this monkey... And look, Babel's got the air. He's using strats as well, which is nice. One monkey is going down for sure. Boom. And the strats are harassing the others. Will they be able to get a second? Apparently they're being called off. This could be why. We have a fatty and a monkey in defense, but we have a large army with a chicken and 2 fatties pushing in down here. This monkey from Gaston could come across here to help, because there's really nothing here after they completely wiped X's old base with their earlier push. But I think, is Brittle having power trouble? Yes, he was. And that is not a great time to have power trouble, because this fatty doesn't have any shields, and there's this contingent bearing down upon it. There's also 2 chickens pushing in here. We have GCs in defense here, and my money's on the GCs in that matchup, despite the support they have from shields and Othiums. But this is where... oh, where to position this camera. This is where South Team really need to worry. They've got their power back, but ow, this looks painful. 1 chicken down up here. And I think the other chicken is not long for this world, though this GC may soon be about to die. It just survives. Are we going to see these coming across to defend? There's a retreat here, but the Strats come in, and where is the heir from... I've forgotten his name again, Bamba. Where is the heir from Bamba? The shields are down on the fatties, and that's not a power loss, because look, you can see Hybrid's got power elsewhere. That's just raw Strat power now. Oh, but that feels like a mistake, because that shield was down, and both sides lose a fatty. And there's still a fatty for Hybrid, but its shields are down. However, Hybrid is falling back. He doesn't think he can hold against this much power, and the Strats come in and take it out. Lovely area defensive work from Babel. Meanwhile, up here we have a crab coming in from Babel, but there's a crab and a monkey against it from Bamba. Another monkey approaching in the back from Babel, but are we going to see another air cleaner followed by Strats as the primary approach for Babel? It wouldn't surprise me in the least. But no, looks like the crab is down for Babel, and we have just held for Bamba over here. Now look at these heaps of reclaim. 10,000 there, 25,000 there, 20,000 there. People need to get stuck into these, and Babel is. Look at this, Babel bringing in delicious engineers to reclaim it all. And don't forget that Harbies can also reclaim, and here they are doing so from Brittle, which is a nice touch. Don't forget that Harby reclaim is a great tool if you just want to fight somewhere with Harbies, or otherwise. But North Team are still ahead on Eco and Reclaim. There's a 50% lead here, 1.5k to just under 1k. And... oh, but now we have more Reclaim in the coffers for the South Team. Either way, there is still 500,000 mass more collected in total for the North Team. And the first nuke is out, not from the nuke we saw from Babel, Brittle, whichever one it was, Brittle I think, but from Hybrid. Where's he nuking? He's going for the air grid. Is there anything to stop it? There is. There's a nuke defense and it's loaded. That nuke is going to be stopped. The nuke here, which was not defended, could have been nuked. It's nearly loaded. If only Hybrid knew. What did he know? He doesn't know that's a nuke, or he could have nuked that. He does know there's an SMD there, but that SMD wasn't loaded. This one was. He flew that over to SMD rather than nuking here or here. I think that might have been a mistake from Hybrid. And also, I think we just saw that Bamba has finished building a nuke launcher of his own, so they're doubling down on the nuke play here. Pushing from Gaston and Brittle just a little bit, and they are getting their hands on these Fat Boy wrecks, which is good. Though I would be focusing a little more on reclaiming the Fat Boy. There we go. He's reclaiming the Fat Boy rather than just focusing on building the auto gun. Both teams are massing experimentals. We got 4 chickens, soon to be 5, and a fatty here. We got a chicken here, but massing up against them, we got these monkeys here. However, the more experimentals are definitely on hybrid side, and if that pushes... But we have a defensive nuke. We have a defensive nuke, and I don't think hybrid knows it's coming. He's standing still. That's 5 chickens. None of they're all new, so none of them have enough vet to survive a nuke. And a fatty. This could be the most brutal nuke you have ever seen if it hits. Meanwhile, we're seeing some XPs being lost there by Bamba to the T3. But look at this, look at this. This is going to be huge. Boom. That is the best defensive-ish nuke I have ever seen. 121,000 mass killed. That's amazing, and I love it. And now we have 5 GCs, make that 6, charging in this area that suddenly doesn't have any experimental defense, and this could be massive if it pushes through. Best nuke ever, says X, and he is not wrong. I love it. I'll be honest, when I saw that nuke when I was plus 10ing through this game, I knew that that was what I had to cast, and the Iron Storms are dead before the GCs get there. This is just amazing for the southern team. Bamba did manage to take out the strats from Babel there, but Babel does still have these... Oh, who's that nuking? That is hybrid. And he's positioning a defensive nuke of his own. This is good because look, there is 50,000-60,000 reclaim there, and even if he doesn't hit these XPs, then he will get rid of the reclaim so that southern team won't get it. Spreads his SPCR when they do, but the nuke is going to hit them. The counter defensive nuke, but a GC has 100,000 hit points, not just 70,000, and so they've survived. All those GCs, well, 4 of those GCs have, the ones that weren't already damaged, have survived. And so, while the army of Hybrid was completely wiped out by the defensive nuke, Hybrid's defensive nuke has still left 4 functioning GCs walking into Hybrid's base. He's not going to get any of these chickens up in time. He's got 1, but that can be focused down. So can his SMD. This is the most brutal thing I have seen since the last time I showed you a horrifically brutal thing. Down goes the chicken, down goes the SMD. SPCR says, GG, this is pretty much won. Hybrid is bringing in a couple of fresh chickens in defense, but there's a fresh GC in defense. In offense, coming in from Brittle. Look at this incredible level of brutality. GG, says Hybrid, and resigns, and I don't blame him, because while that's going on, we have this multiplicity of crabs, this veritable infection of crabs, charging in from Babel across the side, and that one monkey is going to be no match for it. Babel is left holding everything. He's lost his eco lead. He certainly doesn't have the APM. He's obviously not the most experienced player. Though that's not to say that I wouldn't have made many of his mistakes. He fires a nuke. He's targeting at Babel's base. There's no way that's getting through because they are so very loaded. Here might have been good. He could have stopped those 2 GCs because they're both under half health. But I'm not even going to bother to watch that. That's not getting through. Instead, I'm going to bother to watch this, where these forces are all converging on his base. He hasn't realised he inherited this fatty, which he might have been able to finish and defend with. And he's building lines upon lines of arty. That defends against megas, and fatties. But against bricks, the bricks will just walk under it. And they'll just kill it. He needed T2PD as well if he was going to be able to survive this, and this is a mistake. I think he's just going to be focused down and die, because now he's within the minimum range of the arty, and the arty is hitting the megas, but they can just focus Bamba and win the game. And they do. Boom. Victory for South Team after some amazing moves by North Team, but that beautiful defensive nuke, I think, was the turning point. Well, I think it all came down to one thing. GCs and Megas can survive a single nuke hit. Chickens and fat boys can't. What a close game. Tell me what you thought in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and obey. I'm the Commissar. I will see you next time.